I've been seeing a lot of tweets from Minnesota Timberwolves players. I saw one from Karl Anthony Towns come out on Monday. And look, in kind of fitting Karl Towns form, he made a video saying we're going to run it back. But the video, I think, was sideways. So you had to kind of turn it around on your phone. Only Cat could have something like that sort of happen to him. But look, Anthony Edwards said, we'll be back. Chris Finch said, we'll be back. Karl Towns now saying, we'll be back. I guess my question is, after watching this team go out in 5 games to Dallas, get blown out the way they did in game 5, is this a run it back team to you?
Look, I think that as a franchise, they will be back, no question, because of Anthony Edwards. I am 100% in on Anthony Edwards. I think he's only going to get better. I think, frankly, we've only seen maybe 70% of what he can do. I think as he gets more experience in the league and his game develops and his ability to sort of the physical stamina and dealing with the spotlight and all of that stuff, just increases. I think he is going to be phenomenal and a superstar, and it's very hard in this league to get superstars. There are franchises that have gone 25 years without getting a true superstar. So I absolutely think as a franchise, as long as they build smartly around him, that they will be back. And Tim Connelly is a master of team building. That all being said, are they running it back with this particular team? I don't think they can. I mean, just the numbers don't play out. Right now, with the contracts they're already committed to, they're at $190 million in salary. And then even if you just fill out the rest of the players with minimum guys, it gets you to $200 million. The projected cap is $171 million, I think. And so if you're $30 million over the cap, your luxury tax bill is going to be around $70 million. This is an ownership, and I know the ownership is being contested right now, and we'll see which way it falls. But I don't see, if the new owners come in, I don't see them right off the bat spending $70 million in luxury tax. And I know that Glenn Taylor is not going to spend $70 million in luxury tax. I think in the 30 years he's owned the team, he's spent $25 million in luxury tax amortized over those 30 years. So they're going to have to do something. Naz Reid is going to become a free agent next summer. He's on an expiring. How do you deal with that? Rudy Gobert is up for an extension this summer. Are you committing more money? I mean, there's just a lot of questions there. And, you brought up Cat. I mean, he's kind of considered the odd man out if they have to get rid of a bunch of salary. The only thing I'm curious about, and you have a better handle on this stuff, is there someone in the league who wants to take on 4 years of Karl Anthony Towns max money?
Yeah, I mean, I was kicking this around with some NBA people the last week or so since the Wolves got eliminated. And the 2 teams I can think of, one is New York, because New York's always kind of in that mix for the next big star, and I'm sure they'd move Randall and whatever they have to
I don't know. Tibbs had Cat in Minnesota.
He did. I feel like the Knicks, though, I mean, they had a great run, right? But there kind of feels like a ceiling to that team.
Yeah.
And I don't think the ceiling is a championship. So if the guys that the Knicks want, namely Giannis and Embiid, if they're not on the table, I think they might be willing to make a run. The other team that I was thinking of, and I don't have any inside information that they'd even want it, but Oklahoma City. We just saw the Thunder go out in the second round. And look, Sam Presti, like he's using every minute of those playoffs as data points.
Yes.
Like, what does this team need?
100%.
And they obviously need rebounding. They need a little bit more front court scoring. I can envision Towns fitting in alongside Chet Holmgren pretty well. They've got young players that they could put in a deal on cheap contracts. They've got 407 draft picks over the next 10 years that they can move as well. Like that, to me, Oklahoma City makes some sense as long as Minnesota can get a player back that doesn't force them to take a big step back, right? Like, you don't want to take on a couple of, 7th, 8th, 9th guys on the Oklahoma City roster just to get Cat off your books. Yeah, you're not going to get Jalen Williams, but maybe you need somebody like on that level to make this make sense from a basketball perspective. But those are the 2 teams that jumped to mind for me when I thought of Towns deals.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, Cat obviously wants to come back, so I don't know where that's going to fit into things. But yeah, they're going to have some really hard decisions to make. I like the Oklahoma City idea. They need size, obviously. I mean, I think that's the biggest lesson we've learned in the Western Conference in general is that, you need size, and that the good teams have it. And if you don't have it, you're not going to compete. I mean, Chet is amazing, but he's not a big guy in that way. I mean, it's not going to blow anyone off the court. So I just think they do need to beef that up a little bit. So I could see that. But yeah, I mean, I think in Minnesota, they've got a real conundrum. Fortunately, again, I think the architect of that team is very good at this kind of puzzle piece fitting. He's the guy who built the Denver Nuggets, then hopped over to Minnesota, made a trade that everyone sort of panned. I mean, I think it got like D plus grades, D grades.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking around the other day at the great trade grades when that trade was made. Obviously did not work out the first season, got more sort of flack for having done it. And then boom, he knew to be patient with it. And that chemistry got them as far as the Western Conference Finals, which is huge for that franchise. I mean, that's a huge advance for a franchise that I don't think had won a playoff series in 20 years. So I think they should be really happy with what they did. I think they will, out of necessity, need to tweak that team. But as long as the goal in mind is keep building around Anthony Edwards to have his perfect strengths and the guys who make up for the things he can't do and how to feature him, I think they'll be fine. And that's kind of a no-brainer. I can sit here on a couch and say that. So I know Tim Conley knows that.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of, they built the team that can beat Denver, but they didn't build the kind of team that can beat Dallas. I don't really agree with that because they've got elite defenders. Like Jaden McDaniels defends, Anthony Edwards defends, Nickeil Alexander-Walker defends. Like these are big, sturdy wing defenders that they have. They just ran into two guys in Luka and Kyrie that were just better in that series. And I look at Cat as being just questionable. I mean, look at his numbers, 38% from the floor in that series, 25% from three. It wasn't until game 4, Rachel, that he realized I can go to the basket and have success. And then he goes out in game 5 and shoots 1 for 6 from three. So he's the guy like with the spotlight directly on him this offseason.
Yeah. And I think he knows that. I mean, look, I 100% think they're built to beat teams like Dallas. In this series, Dallas had the better player. I mean, I love the NBA media. It is amazing to see like how short-term everything has become. I think there's pressure on everyone to have their takes and to say something new and all of that. But I saw a ton of discussions going into the Western Conference Finals. Who has the best player? Is Ant better than Luka? Guess what? No, not even close. I mean, this was just mind-blowing to me in the moment. I was like, no. Luka is very clearly the best player, guys. And, we saw that. Now, there will be a point, again, Ant in certain matchups is already the best player in a series. And there will be a point, I think, by the time he's 25 years old, where he has that unquestioned vibe that Luka has of sort of, no, he's the best player. And when they have a best player, that would help them with all the defensive, skill that they have. That would help them against teams like Dallas. But they just don't have that guy yet. That guy is still developing. And I think Ant is right on time. He shouldn't be further along at 22 than he is. And he's already really shown us some spectacular things. He's only going to get better. And as long as they're smart about how they build around him, I don't see them having any problem with any team.
Yeah, big offseason for them. They've got to make some decisions, no question. But I do think with that core, they've got, if they can keep it together some way, somehow, they've got a good chance of being right back there next year.